Right, today we've got a 69 Mustang, and one of our good clients has got our negative roll system on there from years ago, and he decided he wanted to upgrade to the new coilover system because he wants adjustable ride height on the front end, and he just likes the idea of the coilover. So we decided today we're going to go ahead and do that. We'll show you how we do that. Now the nice thing about this is since he had our negative roll already, we don't have to drill the upper control arms, our repositioning that we do. There's a template in the kit, but these are already going to be done. He's already got a lot of our components already that we use in the coilover. So this should be a pretty straightforward, quick changeover. So we're going to show you how we're going to do that. Let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on the top here and start taking the shocks out on both sides. And he has our original TS72 upper export brace. It's a 4-bar unit. The new one we have it looks a little bit different. It's still a 4-bar, but it has chevron joints. And we'll throw that up on the screen so you know what we're talking about when we're talking about a chevron joint. But anyway, he's got an original one on here, which is great. So I will be taking this apart. And one of the other things is, since you've noticed we've already started this, since this had a rack and pinion on it, we have to remove the rack and pinion and get it out of the way just to get the lower control arms off so we can put the new lower arms on for the coilover system. So we started doing that. The rest of the upper arms and shocks and everything else are still intact. So we're going to start on that right now. You've already seen what we were doing on the lowers. So here we go. Okay, so as you can see, everything, lower arms are off, and the rack and pinion is disconnected. So I was going to show you how the lower control arm goes on, and in the kit we give you lockout kits. And the lockout kits get rid of the eccentric, where the lower control arm attaches. So the factory uses a cam. See how this is offset? These are called eccentrics. And they go up into the frame area right here, where the slot is right here. This is what sets your camber. And you rotate this. And it shifts the arm in and out based on the cam position. One of the things, though, is that a performance application, and even on the street, just drive around on the roads with lots of bumps, especially if you're in California. This could shift. So you set your alignment here, and if you hit a bump just right, and this rotates in any way, shape, or form, even though you've torqued it, because the bump could be pretty severe, and this rotates, you lose your alignment totally. So we want to get away from that, and so we put these lockouts. These are LOC2s. These fit Mustangs 67 through 73. You see, there's numbers on here. This one was 4, 5, 6. The other side is labeled 1, 2, 3, and they have different positions. So how you place this up in the frame area here moves, and where you put the bolt through moves the lower control arm in and out. And you set your alignment by that. And once you have these installed and the alignment done, you can hit all the bumps you want. It's not going to move. You've eliminated the problem. If you're racing the vehicle, this is really important. But just for street alignment, to be honest with you, these lockout plates are very helpful. Once you set it, you're done. So this is automatic in our kit. We're going to go ahead and put these in. And our lower control arm, of course, remember we're going coilover here. So the lower control arm is going to go up and into here, into the frame. And then we're going to put the bolt through with the lockout. So I'll show you how we're doing that. So one of the situations you run into occasionally is where these have been pulled in, because remember there's a rubber bushing up inside here, and depending how much torque was used to try to stop the arm from moving, this could act, and it compresses in this area, and so the distance that goes in between here is narrower simply because it had a rubber bushing in it and it was over torqued. Okay, they were trying to stop the eccentric from moving, so you may have to adjust it just slightly and bend it back just a little bit so the lower control arm will fit. It's really kind of minor. As you can see, I didn't do much, got barely started. She goes in. I don't want it loose. It's okay that you got to tap it in a little bit. It's okay, because we're in a bearing system, and a bearing system allows us to pivot, so it's not going to matter. So one of the things is when you put these lockout plates in, make sure that there's numbers on the plates. And I don't know if you can see these here. So this is 4, 5, 6. And here you have 1, 2, 3. So if you're at the front of the car looking back, this is the back of the car, and let's say you're putting it through number 2, you see the number 2. On the other side, the back side, the number 2, if you see the 2 on the front side, you're going to put the 2 against the frame on the back side. So both 2s are facing forward. Don't put the 2 here forward and then on the back side go the other way, because the bolt will be crooked. That's why we numbered these. So whatever you do here, the back side is the same going forward. Okay, so you would see 4, 5, 6 on the back rather than 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now we have that in position. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the lower mount, the shock mount on the control arm with the strut rod. This is the shock mount for the lower. There's 3 bolts here. It only goes one way. All right, those holes are going to line up, and then this is going to drop down in here like this. Okay. Then from underneath, and lock nuts is what we're using. So these 2 that I'm doing right here are 9/16 bolts, and instead of the 3rd bolt here is a 1/2 inch. So when we get around to torquing these, that's actually going to torque to 70 foot-pounds. But you notice these 9/16 ones, I've actually left a little loose. You're going to go ahead and you're not going to tighten these way down, and I'll explain why. You want to bring these just down a little bit so you can move the washer a little bit with your finger. You're not going to be tight. You're actually not going to tighten these bolts up until your alignment. You can have it on the ground. It's not going to go anywhere. You're fine. But if you're doing this in your garage at home, and then you're taking it to the alignment shop, no, then you got to tighten them down. But I'll tell you what's going on here. One of the things we did is the bolt hole in the back here is round, but the hole here in the front of the strut rod is actually oval. And the reason why we do that, and the reason why I want you to keep this loose, is because when you adjust the cam here on a factory setup, or with our lockouts where you shift the holes and the arm moves in and out for setting your camber, or you change the length of this strut rod to set your caster, this angle here changes. And by having that forward hole right here, oval, and if you leave it loose and the pivot in the back here, like it says round, that angle is compensated, it just shifts. And once, because there's no side loads. If I was not to do that, and let's say I put a round hole here and a round hole here, and you adjust this in or out, that puts side loads on the forward portion of the mount here. So if it's rubber, it puts side loads on the rubber. Factory had it that way. They don't have any oval, they just bolt it down. Rubber just distorts and it compensates for it. But when you're running hard plastics or rod ends of this nature, or bearings of this nature, that's where you get into side loads and it starts to wear the unit out faster. It'll still function, but the wear factor increases. By doing it with the oval hole here and tightening it down after your alignment's done, everything is aligned in a fashion so you don't have the side load. And we're just making the product last longer by doing it that way. Torque everything down after the alignment and you're good to go. Everything's intact. We're good there. Okay, so now we're going to take the impact. We're going to blast this upper arm off. Okay, we've got that upper arm off, as you can see. Now, the nice thing about it is, remember I said that this car had our negative roll system on it beforehand. So these holes here, this is the factory holes up here, and these are our new location holes. Since he's already had our system on it, non-coilover, we don't have any drilling to do in the shock tower here at all. All we got to do is change the upper arms out. Now, there is a difference in the upper control arms. I want to show you something. This is original negative roll control arm from way back in the day. We had gold shafts back then. And this design originated back in the mid-80s is when we were producing negative rolls for Mustangs. So this kit has remained tried and true with the MNR 73 kit for all this time. And it's still tried, but we did improve it. The newer models is a part number MNR 733. And what that is an upper control arm that actually has caster built into it. This arm does not. Let me bring it over here so you can see this a little better. So this was the old negative roll. And this here, non-coilover. This is on a conversion we did also where one of our clients wanted to go to the coilover, so we took his upper arm off. This is a newer style. So you see where the ball joint is here on center line here? So you could put this on the right or the left. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. This was the old style. The new style, MNR, it's got a 3 behind it now because it has 3 degrees of caster built in it. So if you look at this, you see where the center line of the ball joint is, the relationship to the center line of the shaft here? It's offset. Now this happens to be a passenger side because the ball joint is further back. So it would sit in the car like this being the front of the car. This here is offset to the back, which gives you caster. You want positive caster. So now on negative roll applications, you have a right and a left, passenger driver side. The old days, and from the factory, it didn't make any difference. Right or left, it's all the same. It doesn't matter. Okay, so you can see the difference on the negative rolls, but when you go to the coilover now, coilover's also got caster built into it. And if you'll notice, there is an offset between center line here and center line of the ball joint. The ball joint always goes towards the back of the car, so you have, like I said, rights and lefts, okay? Or passenger driver, however you want to look at it, right? And they're stamped. We stamp these. So like this particular one here, there's a D right there, there's a driver. And so the ball joint is set to the back. You can see from center line here to where the center line is, this is offset. Goes on space like right here. This is the template that we give you in the kit, and it's for drilling the holes for mounting the shock mount. They go directly underneath where the carriage bolts mount. You're going to be removing those carriage bolts, and there's going to be 3/8 holes that are going to be underneath that you're going to drill. So this is the template for doing it. And in the video, we will show you step by step on how to go ahead and do this. On this particular car, there's a difference. This has got a brace. It's got the TS72 brace, export brace, which you see here. And because everything lined up to this brace, we've already got our template. So we just remove the carriage bolts, put the brace back on, and then drill through the 3/8 holes and everything will line up because it's already preset by the export brace. It was already together. It makes it easy. So that's what we do.
Just for lining up purposes, you know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. So let's go ahead and put the upper arm on. Like I was stated before, we already got the holes pre-drilled ready to go. So it's just a matter of putting the new upper arm on. With our 3/8 plate. Oops. Plate goes next to the tower. All right.
Okay, so since we got the arm in here like this, it's easier to torque the upper control arm now to the shock tower than it is when the shocks and everything is in it, because you can swing the arm down so you can get a socket on it. If we have everything together, the arm will be way up here and you won't be able to get to the head of the boat. So now's a good time to do that. These here are, I usually torque these to 90 foot-pounds.
Impacts.
Yeah. So I'm going to lower this down a little bit, get it out of the way. And I don't want the brake line to go solid, of course. So we're just going to lower it a little bit. Like that. Good. We're going to stuff this up in there. Just got to go through here first. And up to the top. The sway bar drops out of the way. There we go. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the shock right here. So when I push this up and get everything aligned, this will hold it up, which will allow me to put the bolts in through the upper shock mount. So I'm just going to hook this up real quick. So the washer, through bolt, there's little spacers. There's 2 for each shock. They go on each side of the shock bearing. So I'll put that in. Line the shock up like that. And I'm going to put a spacer again on the other side of the bearing. You got to line it up. See it in there going? There we go.
Our next step is to go ahead and bolt the upper shock mount to the shock tower in the engine compartment. And you'll see here we're using a cover plate, and that's going to hide a lot of the shock tower at the top, cleans it up, makes a nice installation into the engine compartment. Now that we have the shock mounted, we're going to go underneath and we're going to finish installing the sway bar end links to the lower control arms. Okay, our next step is we're going to go ahead and install the shock tower brace for the bump stop. And remember, there's rights and lefts on these. Now, since he had a Monte Carlo bar in there, we're going to have to take one of the bolts out, and we're going to end up re-drilling that after we get the brace in, but this is a normal procedure. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in other videos that we may do or other products that we may have, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on Instagram. Thanks again.